Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel, where everything you're about to hear and see has been done in one take. I'm your host, the One Take Man. On the day of this video's release, it'll be the third anniversary of my first Buffyverse video. I have since released another one last year, and also last year I went into I started getting into the works or the adaptation of the works of another author who has who has since gone on to be cancelled, namely namely the Sandman. The Sandman is the work. The author is you already know who it is, and yeah. Uh, and given the occasion, I've had this idea rattling around my head about a potential future Buffyverse video for quite a while. I'm also on Twitter following some Buffy fan pages, and uh, one of these pages once posed the question of or not necessarily sure they posed the question or if they outright stated that there is no uh, there is no fictional character Buffy couldn't defeat, or you could mention anyone who could who would want to defeat them. And given I was still in my, I was still a little bit caught up in the Sandman hype at the time, my suggestion was, she would not be able to defeat any of the Endless, really, or maybe not in a way that counts. But then again, by that metric, pretty much no one could beat could beat the Endless, given that they exist by necessity. Abstracting from that, an individual Endless, can still be can still be killed. However, I wasn't necessarily sure if if anything within the Buffyverse would actually have the raw power output necessary to kill an Endless. Uh, but still, the idea compelled me, and I wanted to um, dig a little bit through it. Figure out find out what was find out if there isn't find out if maybe there is something to this potential crossover. And as I've been digging and as I've been rummaging through it, I think I have come up with something. I have, as I'm pretty sure it would be a crossover rather than a rather than a straight up versus, and 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 I've been thinking of a potential miniseries, or more precisely, the first episode of a potential miniseries. The miniseries, in and of itself as a whole, and how that would unfold, is something I really don't want to. Something I haven't really fleshed out, fleshed out entirely yet. Though I do have an idea of how it would end. But regardless, this video is not about that. This video is about that first episode of this potential miniseries. So if you're interested in more, I would like you to let me know. I think comments are the most the best way to do so. Before I continue, however, I do have to establish exactly which iterations and which combinations of both the Buffy, or more precisely Buffyverse leads are we talking about, and also what combination of the Sandman's leading cast is supposed to we're supposed to follow. And for the sake of simplicity, I have decided to stick to the primary canon of both of these franchises only. So for Buffy, that is both Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel, but only the TV shows. So all of the later comics don't count. And for Sandman, I decided on looking at the Sandman Volume 1. So the original 75 issue run that was penned by Neil Gaiman and illustrated by a whole slew of other people. That being said, there will so whatever happens the characters that showed up in the TV show The Sandman will only show up in in this crossover if they also showed up in the comics. Similarly, nothing from the Buffyverse comics is going to show up. I'm going to treat every character as they were at the end of the original primary canon run, with some exceptions, namely the exceptions that are necessary for this story to work. What those are, I will explore over the course of the I'll explain over the course of the video. One thing I will mention right off the bat is that the dream of the endless that we will be following isn't going to be the one who shows up in the show, but his successor, Daniel Hall, who became Dream. For fans of the TV show, Daniel Hall is actually the child of Lita Hall, who you might recall is the one who got pregnant in Dream, and then I think also gave birth in it. I might be wrong. So yeah, that's what we're talking about. That character later went on to become the ruler of the Dreaming in the comics. And as such, he has a somewhat interesting personality that differs from the original Dream, and that therefore makes him accept different responsibilities over the course of through his or rather he has the same responsibilities, but he approaches them in a different manner. That's the point. Who exactly the Buffy characters are? Well, I won't go too deep into it, but I will not as of right now. But I will say before we actually discuss the episode that there are 3 characters who will not show up, namely Giles, Xander, and Spike. I'm having them like off in Europe, or maybe in Britain, trying to put together a new and potentially reformed Watchers Council, someone who can more effectively look over and take care of the all the Slayers within the setting. Anyway, with that out of the way, it's time to get into the actual episode. The actual episode will kick off right here at the Griffith Observatory in Los Angeles. And the first scene I think will show Buffy and Dawn taking in the site, because as you can see it's a pretty sight, and discussing some of the things that have happened since the last time they were since Buffy the Vampire Slayer came to an end. And the most important thing is the fact that, as I've said, there is they have taken steps towards making sure a new Watchers Council has been set, but as of right now, they are in Los Angeles because they've been dealing with the Wolfram and Hart demon army that was released at the end of Angel's show. This is my headcanon more or less for how this crossover comes to be on Buffy's side. The fact that Buffy and all of the and the entirety of the Scooby Gang was called into Los Angeles to help Angel Investigations and friends handle the demon army that went over Los Angeles. And as such, a lot of Los Angeles will still be kind of a mess, but now it's in its rebuilding phase, when it is somewhat more vulnerable, and therefore a lot more stuff can happen. And they'll talk about how how they went patrolling, and maybe they'll talk about how Christmas is coming near, because I don't know. I just think it would be more interesting story if it takes place closer to Christmas. Also helps establish just how big of a threat the demon army actually was, given it took them given it took some of the most some of the most powerful champions of light several months to actually mop all of them up. Anyway, so the two of them will hang around the Griffith Observatory, and Dawn might make a comment about how she has memories of spending Christmas in Los Angeles, even though it would technically still be her first Christmas in Los Angeles. And Buffy would try to comfort her on that and remind her that she's still her still her sister, even if she even if some of her memories aren't aren't as fresh as they would be. Like, she's doing she's really taking in her role as a surrogate parent for Dawn. And as they are about to drive off from the observatory, Dawn notices the Dream Ruby. I was considering maybe making this maybe making the first point of contact between these universes a different one. However, I couldn't really find any picture of the Dream Emerald that I thought I would use instead. Partly also because Dream Daniel, or Daniel Dream, always seems to have it around his neck. And also, the ruby, I think, has been established canonically that it is the more powerful of Dream's gems, and therefore losing it would be most urgent. So anyway, Dawn sees it, picks it up, and she's immediately taken by it. Finds it very impressive. She finds it very impressive, and she very much likes how it glows. Buffy comes up to it, and as soon as she touches it, she realizes, oh, this is dangerous. This is powerful. This could cause some serious damage. So they decide to bring it over to Willow, and they hop into their car, whatever car they find, and drive away. As they drive away, the camera will pan into the surrounding forest, or forested area, and showcase that this entire exchange has been observed by a footman. If you'll remember, Hush, those are the guys who have been more or less scrambling around on all fours around the gentleman, assisting them in their goals. That is not to say that the gentleman will show up in this episode, but I just wanted to bring these guys back because they seem like a pretty good all-purpose mook that any potential Buffyverse threat could employ. Cut to the dreaming, and we'll have and there'll be a scene of and there will be a scene of all of Dream's associates huddling around a map of the various realms, discussing where all of discussing where the last of Dream's gems is. And now I have to describe my idea for the lore on on the Sandman end. My theory is that at some point between the present day of the narrative and the ending of Sandman Volume 1, there will have been some kind of war between the Dreaming and some other realm, and that other realm could more or less have started this war by first encouraging a civil war within the Dreaming. And it is for this reason that that potentially a lot of artifacts of power of Dream will could have potentially gotten lost. They're discussing about how they've and in this scenario, I imagine the acolytes or the court of the dreaming. We'll discuss. We'll discuss some of these. We'll discuss some of these artifacts. What it took to get them, what it what it took to end the war, only to find that some of them at least are still missing. And the most notable, the one they are actually actively huddled around this map, trying to figure out where it could be, is the is indeed the Dream Ruby that I've already showcased. And Dream could already be within this group at the beginning, or he might turn around, saying that he has been deep within the dreaming, doing the same incursion that, if you'll recall from the Sandman TV series, that Morpheus Dream did in its second episode, in order to meet with Hecate and have his free questions answered. He'll be coming back, saying that he is positive that the ruby isn't in the dreaming. So therefore it has to be in some other realm. And when he looks at the map, he finds that there is actually one realm that is either faded away or been struck through. Though I lean more towards faded away. And he suggested that that's where the ruby could be, and that's where they should go. And I think Lucian would be the first one to go, no, that's not a good idea. That's not a good idea. That realm has been closed off after another previous massive battle, and therefore there isn't even a way. There isn't even a way to it somehow. Somehow, and entering it would be a very bad idea for all parties involved. Dream would remind them that there isn't really nothing else they could try, and also arguing that if there is no path, then he can just make one, which he immediately starts doing. As this scene closes out, we then move to Angel and Connor, who, they are both in the they're also both in Los Angeles, making sure that any potential supernatural threat is still somewhat contained. And I imagine them sitting, maybe something like this, talking something out, or more precisely, I imagine Angel maybe patching Connor up after a fight where he got a little bit too cocky. Connor starts to mouth up again, at which Angel will go, "No, this is serious. Do not joke about this stuff. I'm a vampire. You're not. You have vulnerabilities. I don't. Keep that in mind, okay? Keep that in mind." Connor would be like, "Yeah, all right. I get it. I really do. Thanks for patching me up. Don't mention it." And as this touching scene closes out, they get attacked by Mora demons. These demons, as far as I know, only showed up in I Will Remember You, which is one of the best and most memorable episodes of that of the Angel series. And really they are another creature that only showed up once, even though they have an interesting enough a look and other characteristics that I think would justify them being used a little bit more frequently. Especially given that in the first appearance, it really only took one Mora demon to keep both Angel and Buffy at bay. So I imagine the stakes could go up exponentially if there are like 4 or maybe even more such demons that show up. And and there and cue action sequence where Angel and Connor fight fight a gang of Mora demons. Eventually their weakness is eventually they find out what their weakness is. Where okay, Angel already knows it. He also tells it to Connor, and they take advantage of that. But even while trying to take advantage of that, it's still it's still a really difficult fight. It's still a really difficult fight. Two of them against the Angel and Connor going up against how many more demons there could be. But anyway, after the fight is over, they check up on each other once again, and including on the wound that Angel is patching up. And Connor says that he's perfectly fine. Hey, look at this. No tearing, no bleeding. I'm good to go. Okay. And then they go to Wolfram and Hart. I imagine I imagine the good guys would, could potentially try to still, could potentially set up a base there, especially when considering that, that these offices were abandoned by, by both the senior partners and their employees, and their employees in the Angel finale. And also there is still plenty of facilities that they could use. Plenty of facilities, plenty of equipment, plenty of plenty of know-how, plenty of supernatural knowledge, and that they could use. So I imagine they would set up shop there. And I think Illyria and Willow would be the ones that would more or less take permanent residence over there. And they would be they could be talking some stuff of maybe maybe discussing magic and its potency, and maybe even doing a little bit of a demonstration. I'm deliberating as to whether or not Willow's new girlfriend should be there, and I'm deliberating whether or not it should be Kennedy, because I don't recall what her standing at the end of Buffy the Vampire Slayer is, and I always found her character to be underserved by season 7. So it could be Kennedy, or it could be someone else. Potentially another Slayer. I don't know. Just that idea just really speaks to me. Anyway, they're having their discussions, and are then interrupted by Buffy and Faith, who come in with the Dream Ruby. Willow is the first one to see it and goes, "Okay, yeah, you did a good thing to bring it to us. We'll have to, I don't know, close it, close it somewhere, sequester it away." Except Illyria also demands to see it, because she thinks it seems familiar. And when she touches it, she realizes, oh yeah, she knows who this is. She knows that it's from a former enemy of hers, one who did receive a different name at the time, and the best translation of that name, at least available within the best translation for the name of that enemy is Nightmare, and she describes him as a being of unfathomable power, with full control over his over an entire realm of existence, who can create anything and anything he would anything he could ever desire, and the danger level that he poses is uncalculable. And the Ruby holds a lot of his power, and he will definitely come, which means he will definitely come for it. And if he comes for it, then there will be no end of trouble. So they decide to so Illyria in particular decides how exactly to close it away, or how exactly to sequester it. A few moments later, Angel and Connor also show up, and Dawn and Connor end up end up hugging and kissing, because yeah, I don't know why, but I have this idea of shipping the two within this miniseries, because I think they have similar enough dramas and backstories that they can, that hanging around each other could potentially, could potentially heal them. Could potentially heal them. It will make it a little bit more awkward for Buffy and Angel, but you know, the those two have never had it easy, so why should I try to make it easy? Anyway, once they're done catching up, they as they're done catching up, they fill each other in. They found, namely, the fact that Buffy and Dawn found a ruby, and Angel and Connor were attacked by Mora demons, and it is here we learn that. And this makes for an interesting recontextualization of the actual threat that the Buffyverse gang is actually supposed to face against, because whoever this is has an issue against has issues with Illyria, who is an enemy of the Wolfram and Hart senior partners. But also this threat seems to have activated the Mora demons, who are employed typically by opponents of the powers that be. And the senior partners and the powers that be are kind of at each other's throats. However, and it could be argued that maybe this ruby is another. And maybe this ruby could be a sign of their next of their future plans, or whatever it is. It's a sign that there is a new party in town, and it is ambiguous what exactly its intentions are. Its intentions are. For the moment, however, it is decided that Illyria and Willow will stay within the facility to keep the ruby safe, especially from its owner. Dawn and Connor will also stay in place, maybe alongside Willow's girlfriend, in order to provide the muscle. Buffy says that she'll go to their second site, or maybe Alpha site, if I may insert a Stargate reference here, in order to get their weapons. And Angel says that he'll go speak to the powers that be, or a representative thereof, in order to figure out what exactly is going on. And that's what happens. That's what they settle on. And on we go to the Hyperion Hotel, aka the Alpha site, the second location that I think the new and expanded Scooby Gang would set up, and it is also their main weapon stash, more or less, where they have a whole bunch of armaments from all around the world. A lot of them melee, some of them long range, but and maybe even a few guns, maybe, or some firearms. And I imagine that Faith and Gun would be there keeping it safe. Maybe even training either with their weaponry, or just in a one-on-one fight, in order to keep them so sharp, in case someone would think of the unthinkable and actually try to attack them in a store full of weapons. And also, don't be fooled by the pictures. These buildings are meant to be quasi dilapidated, because Los Angeles has been the scene of a basically been a war zone for 6 months. So it will look a little bit more it will look more messed up than the pictures here that are used primarily for reference. Anyway, they do their thing, and while they do their thing, they end up being attacked by a huge, by a huge swarm or maybe a huge coven of vampires. A lot of them, a lot of them picking up weapons and trying to use them, to use them against them. And I imagine the two of them would put up a good fight against the oncoming swarm, but after a while they would get overwhelmed by simply, by the sheer size of this coven and the sheer number of bodies they can, they can throw. I wouldn't be surprised if they managed to dust like anywhere between 1 and 4 vampires, but they still have so many more that it doesn't really matter. Thankfully, it is at this moment that Buffy shows up and manages to provide some backing, and also from another part of the hotel, Andrew pops in and uses various magics in order to push a lot of vampires away, and they will, the vamps will try to fight. We'll try to fight against this second wave. Maybe eventually do well, but maybe eventually do well, only to realize that their combined forces might not end up being enough. So they decide to just flee with whatever weapons they manage to take. And everyone will comment on how odd it is for for vampires to be looking at them in order to find weapons. And then Buffy updates them with regards to what's going on, and with this new threat that seems to have emerged, and and both Faith and Gunn, upon hearing the report, decided they're better off at Wolfram and Hart, defending the ruby, because that is at present the more serious threat to their well-being. And Buffy and Andrew stay at the Hyperion. Once they leave, however, Buffy starts to realize that she is very tired. Might even comment on how she didn't think she would get as tired as she feels. And Andrew tells her that he'll take first watch. At which point she'll remind him that this could be some kind of magic effect, curse, whatever, and that he's better off just putting some level of protection over the hotel, and then watching over her as she sleeps, to make sure there is a limited to limit and potentially maybe even eliminate any magical danger that threatens her. And that's what ends up happening. Next up, we go to Angel, and I don't know if you can see this, but he is in the dark right here, pointing at something. I don't know. I found this picture to be interesting. He's talking to he's either talking to or at a conduit of the powers that be. I don't know, the Buffyverse wiki has been a little bit hasn't been less than explicit with regards to what the conduit of the powers that be is, either a person or a place. And whatever, he reaches out to a representative of the powers that be. That representative could be Cordelia, but I lean more towards it simply being like a towards it being an unknown character, primarily because I want the powers that be to still be a little cryptic at this point. And they might talk about how there is a new player to the game, but might not be able to specify much else unless you're willing to do some unless you're willing to dig a little bit through riddles, which I imagine Angel wouldn't be, wouldn't necessarily be willing to do. So whatever, he, he does his thing, gets mad, um, then walks out, very frustrated that he knows a little less than he knew in the beginning. And after he walks out and settles down, trying to calm himself, he hears, "Hey, you!" Starts looking around. "Hey, over here! Turn around!" He turns around, and then the other voice goes, "Up here!" And when Angel looks, he sees Matthew perched up on a tree branch, and yeah, he'll be a little bit confused, and that will not at all be alleviated by Matthew going, You didn't happen to have seen any rubies, have you?" And Angel will still go like, "What?" Yeah. Uh, that's not to say that I hate Angel. I think he's an interesting character. However, while he does have his moments of cunning, he is nevertheless occasionally kind of a dumbass. So, him being completely perplexed by a talking raven seems completely in character. Then we cut to the vampire coven, and as they look at all of the weapons they've stolen, and also talking about their about who their leader is, not by name but by title. I'm not necessarily sure what title that would be, but it would create a little bit of mystery. And then eventually the leader shows up, and it's Harmony. Yeah, Harmony. Not sure how many of you have either read the comics or a synopsis of the comics, but in the comics, Harmony really comes out full force and reveals what kind of a threat she is. She she outs the existence of vampires to the world, and then goes on to portray the new Slayers and the Watchers Council as bloodthirsty exterminationists, and thereby waging a PR war against against the Scooby Gang. And so yeah, she actually has a lot more competence than a lot of her previous appearances have hinted towards her having. And I think her setting up a vampire coven while the rest of LA is would be invaded by a demon army sounds like it could be something that is that is up her alley. Gathering protection and strength in numbers. Keep in mind that she did join that MLM. In I think her first Angel appearance, this Harmony the episode. So I think her setting something like this up would be very much in would be very much in keeping with her with her general shtick of taking control or establishing some some group around her to keep herself safe. So she shows up. She notices what weapons her coven has brought, and will be thoroughly disappointed. Maybe even throw some insults around, calling them idiots or something, because this is definitely this is definitely not enough or not powerful enough for what they for what they have in mind, or for what they've heard through the what they've heard the demons mention would be the the main danger of the the main danger that is coming for them. Thankfully, however, she does notice that they have enough for another operation. Cut to Wolfram and Hart, and we'll see that Illyria and Willow are trying to are setting up their Illyria and Willow are setting up their protections both around the ruby and around the building, as well as each other, in order to make sure everything works fine, and in order to make sure everything works fine, and in general, just and in general, talking it out about um, about what is about to happen, what has happened, uh, between them primarily. Establish, get a greater grip on the connections between the between the Scooby Gang and the various members. Also, yeah, Faith and Gunn will also be there, and they will, and they could potentially have their moments, their conversations, and their conversations, their moments, and also showcasing how it is that they prepare, how it is that they try to handle the mess they've gotten themselves in, and um, and as they do all of that, they are attacked by a swarm of footmen. Yeah. And so yeah, the all-purpose mooks come at it again, and I imagine that that these five people I've mentioned, Connor, Dawn, Faith, Gunn, and Willow's as of yet undetermined girlfriend, would be able to hold, a lot of them, would be able to hold a lot of them off, at least in the beginning, until until their boss emerges, the Beast, or okay, not the Beast, the Big Bad. And it will not be the actual Beast, because I know that guy, like, because I know that guy died in Angel season 4, but I'm simply using his picture as a placeholder. A placeholder for what? Well, obviously the Big Bad of this mini series, who I think should be a nightmare when it was created. One of Dream's creations. Maybe even a major arcana who is a nightmare, and would therefore would have a sizable power. Maybe even comparable to the gods of the demons. Maybe even comparable to the gods of demons. Enough to make him a sizable threat within this within this setting. And I went with the Beast as the placeholder placeholder image because, well, I don't know. I think the Beast fits the aesthetic I am looking for somewhat better. It was either this or the Beast from the Doctor Who two-parter Impossible Planet Satan's Pit. So yeah, I chose this because it is more in keeping with the theme. And the Beast would support its minions, its mooks, the footmen. May either through magical means or through direct action, or both. And eventually subdue these five individuals, and then he would talk all smooth about how they've faced off against him, and then ask in a much more menacing voice, "Where is the ruby?" And then we cut to Buffy as she sleeps, or more precisely, as she is in her dream. And in her dream, I think she would be in the dreaming, or even more precisely, in Dream's palace, walking around, trying to figure out where she is, get her bearings. This doesn't look like any place she has any familiarity with, but keep in mind she does have she has prophetic dreams, so she is a little bit used to her dreams occasionally being a little wild. She checks herself, finds that she doesn't really have any weaponry on her, but she does a little bit of some silent acrobatics in order to figure out whether or not she can still use her Slayer abilities. The answer to that is yes. She still has her Slayer abilities, more or less. And as she wanders around, she finds Dream's library, and she sees Lucian, deep in his work, cataloging and sorting. She is a little bit cautious towards him, but eventually, after looking around, figures, decides that he would be safe enough to approach, and except as she starts to, she is grabbed by the shoulder and pinned to the wall, pinned to the wall around which she peeked to see him, and comes face to face with Mervyn Pumpkinhead, going, "What are you doing here?" To be continued. And yeah, that is how I imagine the first episode would go. I haven't really paid too much attention to the dialogue, just the general plot, and also establishing some specifics about who the main players are, and for what reason they would choose to or what exactly would bring them to the in the position where they find themselves in, where they are actually fighting against each other. If you've enjoyed this video, well then you'll have to let me know. So please like it, and ideally also share it wherever you think other people will also like the video. If you have any comments on my interpretations of these characters, or on the plausibility of my plot, or if you want to see more of it, again, comment section, go right ahead. And if you want to see when my next video, sorry about that, when my next video, which will in all likelihood be something completely different, come out, well then please subscribe, and ideally also ring the bell or do whatever else YouTube will ask of you in order to keep you notified. I also have a main channel where I talk primarily about book-related stuff. A link to which you can find in the description down below, right past my social media links, which I suggest you check out should you choose to. If you find yourself less than interested in my bookish opinions, then I suggest you stay on this channel where I occasionally dip into let's say this kind of fan fiction, or various commentary videos on TV shows, games, movies, maybe even doing some gameplay, really whatever crosses my mind. I do basically everything. And if none of those prospects interest you, then I suggest you go ahead and do whatever you want the rest of your day, because it is your day after all. And yeah, now I'm done. So once again, thank you for your attention, and once again, if you want to see the second episode, go ahead and comment. And until next time, I have been the One Take Man.